Welcome to the Getting to the Root of It podcast, where our mission is to unearth the power and potential of the CBD hemp wellness industry. Grab a seat as we root out the myths from the marketing and discover the science-backed benefits of this popular plant medicine. Hosts Bob Finnegan and Sarah Nilsson shoot it to you straight to help you make educated choices regarding hemp-based wellness.
Hello, this is a really exciting day. This is our inaugural episode of our podcast, Getting to the Root of It with Sarah and Bob. I am your host, Sarah Nilsson. I am also the Vice President of Sales for Green Compass, which is a pioneer in the CBD and hemp-based wellness space. And I'm here with Bob Finnegan, who is our Chief Marketing Officer. Bob, are you excited or what?
Hello. I am excited.
This is a big day for us and for everyone who's going to be listening, of course.
It is a big day. It's very exciting.
Being a part of Green Compass and being intricately involved with all things CBD, from the farming side, the innovation, the extraction, the sales and marketing, I feel like we really have a lot to say as far as what's going on in the industry, things that are maybe a lot of smoke and mirrors, things that, our consumers really should learn about in order to make educated decisions about what they're doing with their wellness. And quite frankly, if CBD is a good choice for them or not, wouldn't you say?
I would. I mean, it's so interesting that you hear about CBD nearly every day and see it at every gas station, every store. In my neighborhood, I think there's more vape shops than neighborhood pharmacies, and yet the product itself, the plant, the benefits are so misunderstood. And I think sometimes it's interesting, having been in this industry now since 2014, which it doesn't sound like a long time, but CBD, hemp, cannabis really being new after decades of prohibition. It's so common for me, but many people, it still hasn't hit the mainstream, and I think that there's a lot of misperceptions, there's a lot of misunderstandings, and there's a lot of incredible benefits. And so when you look at the industry as a whole, you really have to dig deep and find trusted, quality sources. And I think we can really expose a lot of really interesting information about this entire spectrum, on our podcast.
For sure. There's so many different sides to this, right? So it's kind of the what's true, what's not true, what's hemp, what's marijuana, that side. And then how do I know that I'm getting a trusted brand? And then what do I use it for? And what's just fancy marketing, and how much should I be paying? Just all the things. And I live in Seattle, like you're on the opposite side of the country. So we have a little bit of differing perspective, and, marijuana and everything has been legal in Washington. So, there's opportunities to get hemp and all over the place, but still, there's still people that are really confused about what it is and what it isn't. I give you a quick example. Part of what I do in my role at Green Compass is travel around and educate people on who we are and what we offer and provide. And I was doing an event, and someone was telling a story about her grandmother having, some discomfort in her joints and things, and she'd offered her a topical product from Green Compass. And the grandma's response was, "Oh, honey, I can't use that. I've got to drive." So she literally felt like if she used a topical cream, somehow it was going to have a psychoactive effect. But it sounds silly, but it's the truth. People still feel that way. We're still in that space as far as like the continuum of education.
Yeah, I'm super passionate about wellness. I've been in the supplementation and health and wellness industry for many years. I've developed lots of products and have been looking at CBD, hemp, cannabis, and working in this particular industry now for a while, and it's been fascinating to watch. And again, I'm quite comfortable in my level of understanding that, although there's new information and research being done every day, it's incredible and it's fascinating. But like you said, in certain parts of the country, it's very common and very familiar. In other parts, even my parents who live in New York, it's all new. They've heard about it. They've seen it on the Today Show. They maybe even want to try it, but they just have no idea who to trust and where to go to. And so they go out and they spend their hard-earned money on products that are, frankly, junk, and they're completely turned off by it, or that they have no, particular benefit. So, I have a similar funny story. My poor dad, he really wanted to try a CBD product, and so he's found these new craft beers in his retirement. So he likes to go out on a Friday and get a craft beer, and there was a local brewery that had a CBD infused craft beer. So they bought some to take home. He called me and said, we got the CBD, and they went out in the back patio as if, they were going to go on an acid trip, and he had the beer. And I said, Dad, how did it make you feel? And he said, well, I didn't really feel anything. I said, so what did you do? And he said, well, I had another beer. And I kind of felt relaxed. And I said, well, that's great, Dad. That's because you had 2 beers. And it had nothing to do with the CBD.
Yeah.
And it was just really interesting. So we visited their house, and there was a tincture on the counter. And I said, let me take a look at it. And I pull open the tincture. It's almost looked like tar. It had a horrifying smell. And they had spent, $60 on this product, and I just said, throw it in the garbage. And they were mortified, because that's an expensive product. And I said, this is junk. Hemp is intended to actually clean the air and clean the soil. So if you don't have the right source of hemp-based oil, you're getting all of the stuff that just was removed from the air and the soil, and you could tell immediately that product was no good. So it's there's so much to talk about. There's the simple side of health and science, kind of the basics, and then there's a deeper conversation that I think I'm excited to expose with you on this podcast.
Yes, and just listening to what you said, it reminds me, this is why we're doing this. There's so many places we could go here, and really feeling a void. There's, some other podcasts where you can learn a little bit about the plant, etc. But what about as a consumer, an average consumer who has no idea where to start, is in a vulnerable space, vulnerable to the marketing, vulnerable to pricing, vulnerable to, like you just said, getting some bad CBD, for lack of a better word, or not trying it because they're misinformed about what it is or what it isn't. Like you said, it's not equal to an acid trip. Nobody's going to be knocking on your door. And just how also illuminating when you find a good product, how beneficial it can be for you, for your whole family, for your pets, and really kind of peeling back the layers, or shall we say, getting to the root of it. As far as, what is available, what should I look for, how should I proceed, and be confident as a consumer. So I'm really excited to have the opportunity and the platform. I feel like we have a lot to say because we see it all day, every day, right? The good, the bad, the ugly of the industry. I'm excited for the guests that we'll be able to have to shed light on the legalities and the science and the sales side of it and the marketing side of it and the farming side of it, and really providing good value to our listeners who are interested in just taking a deeper dive into, this really vast and emerging space.
I think so. It's really exciting, and it comes with a great responsibility. And I think that we have a very unique opportunity, with Green Compass and the information that we have here. And what's so exciting, being relatively new to the company, is the amazing stories of hope and progress and relief that these products are truly providing people. I've in just a very short amount of time heard stories that would literally bring you to tears. And I guess I'm an emotional guy. I cried, car commercials if they're but this is real stuff, and it's impacting people in a really amazing way. And it's it's a business that is fun. It's a culture that's fun, and in the way that we integrate into the world, I think there's a deeper side of the conversation beyond just education to really look at not just informing but inspiring people and entertaining people, to create real conversation, to dispel the myths as we all know are out there, and to showcase people in a really fun and beautiful way. And there's no question that's off limit for us. I mean, that's what's so good about the platform, and getting to the root of it is we're always going to dig that next level deeper. And I think that's what makes this really unique.
And one thing I've noticed too, I'm sure you have also, Bob, just over the last year with everything we went through with the pandemic, people's relationship with their health has changed. People are more alert or are more interested in making healthy choices, in asking questions, in really, have been shocked into the realization that their health is fragile, and how it also relates to other areas of their life. If they're not healthy and they can't work, or they can't take care of their family. And so people are opening up and being more susceptible, I suppose, to taking a look at healthy alternatives, different ways of going about, working with their health and wellness. And I feel like we fit right into that sweet spot. Providing information about a really viable option for the masses. And so I'm really excited about that. And you mentioned it's a responsibility, and I think so too. Like having this sort of knowledge and this secret sauce, and not, you want to shout it from the rooftops and make sure everybody understands the differences and the opportunities that are within that. So I'm really excited as we go through the episodes and meet with our special guests and just have the conversation, for people to really feel that they are learning something, with getting to the root of it as well.
Yeah, I love that you said that. I mean, I think in terms of trends, it couldn't be a better timing. Life, I guess, is all about timing, but coming on the heels of the pandemic, as you mentioned, has changed a lot of behaviors in the entire world, and the health and wellness movement has been something that is becoming more and more mainstream, where we want to be aware of the things we put on, in and around our bodies. And, it's a chemically laden world, and it's scary if you do the research. And I think, it'd be very interesting to expose a lot of that information. But more importantly, on the positive side, I think getting educated, and creating a real interesting dialogue and debate about what is healthy, and if when you get a product like these products, or you're immersed in this type of industry, how do you know what works? What should you expect? How do you use it? Simple things, but also what makes the difference. And it's about human health, and that doesn't matter which part of the country you're in, what age group you're in, what ethnicity you are. There's different understanding and levels of adoption and levels of demand and levels of use. And I just think this is such a rich and interesting time, and such an interesting and rich topic.
As an average consumer, when it comes to pretty much anything we buy, we can assume that with all the regulations that, we have, especially here in the States, that what's on the package, what's on the nutrition facts is really, in fact, what's in the packaging, right? Because supplements and food and everything is so regulated. Then you wander into this sort of wild, wild west of CBD and hemp that's not regulated. Most people might not even know that, because, if I'm getting a bottle of CBD and it says there's X amount of CBD, it says there's no THC, it's whatever, I'm going to go, okay. I mean, they wouldn't put it on the bottle if it weren't true, right? Not even fathoming that it could be, and sometimes likely isn't, true. And so, I would have loved for somebody 3 years ago to sit me down and teach me a little bit about what an unregulated industry means and what to look for and stuff. So I really think the average consumer, if they see CBD at the gas station, might not stop and think like, wait a minute, it's $7. It's right next to the Yoo-Hoo and the Funyuns. Like, I don't know if I want to be making my wellness choices at the 7-Eleven, but they do, because in all other areas of things that we consume, we pretty much trust that if it's on the label, then it's in the box or the jar or the wrapper or whatever. I mean, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm the chief marketing officer, right? So I'm as guilty as anybody for this problem. But, reading labels, not all things are created equal. Even words like organic are confusing to people because there's not a lot of standards. So when we say organic, or we say 100% USDA certified organic, what goes into getting that certification? I think it's fascinating, the level of work and effort and cost and complexity to get that seal. But that's the highest level of a trusted seal. You could have an organic cereal, but it doesn't mean it's healthy. And that's where the confusion lies. I mean, the level of pesticides and things that are in our food products these days. It can be really scary. And so
made with organic sugar.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The organic cigarette.
Yeah, it's from plants. Oh, I'm really excited. Just, all the what the future holds for the podcast, and just all the people we're going to get to talk to and learn from and educate the listeners. So I think we are definitely going to be filling a void and coming at it from a little bit of a different place, creating a little bit of energy and fun, also education and banter and stories and real life conversation with real people who are, immersed in the space, and, throwing in around a little fun and a few laughs too, just to keep it interesting.
No doubt.
Speaking of that, as we're ready to wrap up this first episode, I thought it'd be kind of fun, and you don't even know this, so I thought it'd be kind of fun to spew a little fun fact about Bob. Like, what's something interesting that people probably don't know about you?
Well, I'm relatively, I've had to learn how to talk on a stage and those types of things. I spent most of my career in retail and fashion, and that was I shaped customer experiences for brands. That was kind of my thing. And I always joke, I used to go to New York and, I'd meet with a brand like a Brooks Brothers or a Macy's or something, and they wouldn't even look you in the eye. And then I got involved in this really unique industry called direct selling, and people hugged a lot. And I was like, we don't hug in my world.
Not in New York fashion.
No. I mean, it was all about, do you have the right amount of thread count and the right stitch and the right label? And so it was really interesting. And people would say, well, what's your why? And tell me your story. And I'm like, well, I'm a guy and I have a career. And, there was no story. I didn't really know I had a story. But anyway, fun facts about me. Let's see. I have I was part of a gold record, which
cool.
is, kind of a strange thing to claim. But I was involved in that. It was actually a marketing campaign, but it achieved the level of a gold record. I've been on a very, if you're like me, or you're kind of a nerd. I've been on a show called CBS Sunday Morning 3 times. I've been on MTV twice, including Headbangers Ball back in the 90s with Ricky Rackman. I mean, come on. So being a complete nerd, that makes no sense. I'll save
some people that are freaking out right now. Yeah.
While I've been an executive many years, I've also I used to pave roads and know how to run a backhoe and all sorts of small town things. So I guess that's a little bit about me.
That's a lot of stuff. You've got a lot a lot under your hat.
Well, give me a fun fact about you, Sarah.
Okay. Well, let's see. I have been in this particular space for 20 years, not necessarily CBD, but just the whole sales and, building businesses, multi-international organizations and things. But prior to that, one of my jobs, I was the assistant to the director of marine facilities, which was my title. And, that sounded good to me at the moment, sounded fancy. But one of the things I had to do was I had to get certified in Air Force Fire Rescue. So I had to go out to this place in Washington where they do these kinds of simulations and trainings. I had class like 3 days, kind of Top Gun style. Not for fighter jets, but for planes. And then at the end of it, we had to like dress up in full silvers and put out a fire, with that they started with avgas, rescue passengers and luggage, from the burning fuselage, get out, all that. So here I was like, I don't know, maybe 22 years old. And I was like in the office, like as the assistant to the director, I literally was in the office. And I'm thinking the whole time, why? Like, I'm never going to be the closest one to an airplane crash. I don't even, my entity that I worked for also owned the airport. And so that's kind of why I was even in the mix there. But to this day, and I fly a lot, I fly several times a month now for my job. And to this day, every time I'm on a plane and we're landing, I count to myself to 30 because I know that the pilot has 27 seconds from the time that the airplane lands to let off of the brakes before they catch on fire. So I'm always 1,000, 2,000. So that's what I took with me after that 4-day training.
I've flown 3,000 times around the world, and I never knew that fact. So now I will be obsessively counting.
Yep.
I don't know if I should thank you for that or be annoyed.
When you get to about 25 seconds, you're going to be like, hey.
Hey, please let off. Please let off. Well, that's fun. Thank you for sharing. I think it'll be great to hear, our guests, as you mentioned. Everybody's got such fun stories, and we've got we've got such world-renowned scientists and farmers and entrepreneurs and authors and formulators and wellness experts and advocates and customers. I mean, there's just going to be so much fun facts and fun information, fun stories, which really shape this industry and shape this brand. And I think being on the forefront of it is just such an awesome thing. And I'm excited to be a part of it and help people on their wellness journey and, know that nothing is off limits here. There's nothing we won't address, I think.
Well, clearly.
Maybe there's some regulator that'll be on us, but surely not afraid to, expose the truth and expose the misinformation out there and have fun doing it in the process. So,
yes. Well, I'm super excited. I'm already looking forward to our next episode and all of the value that will bring to our listeners. So thank you for popping on with us. We look forward to chatting with you again and helping you get to the root of it. You can subscribe to Getting to the Root of It on Spotify, Apple, and all places that you can download your podcast. And we really hope that you enjoyed yourself and put us on your list of podcasts that you listen to regularly. So thanks, Bob. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And we will be talking to you again next time.
Likewise. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Getting to the Root of It. If you enjoyed today's show, visit gettingtotherootpodcast.com to access information about our guests and to sign up for our newsletter. Be sure to rate and review us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.